Past Now Read presents another story that needs to be told, entitled White Flag on Black Lake.
White Flag on Black Lake. Black Lake didn't get its name from the sky, but it could have. Clouds hung low, bruised and sagging, spitting cold rain across the cypress stumps and drowned willows. It was the night before duck season, cold as hell, and the lake had gone from whisper to warning, with every quack and honk echoing like ghosts in the mist. The boy, 16 and long-legged like a colt, stood shivering beside the overturned metal boat. His name was Caleb, a wide receiver for the high school team, tough and restless. His dad, Dr. Harlan Bishop, stood next to him, still in his blood-splotched scrubs from an emergency appendectomy earlier in the day. A hard man with a harder jaw, the kind that didn't bend even when it should. Behind them, Coach Dan Taggart zipped up a raincoat that barely fought the wind. He coached linebackers at the local college, barrel-chested, built like a man who didn't admit weakness until it buried him. The boat was older than Caleb. It had spent the last 8 months upside down on the edge of the lake, weathering, bleached by sun, blistered by time. But this afternoon, the doctor said it'd float fine. "We're not paddling to Cuba," Harlan snapped when Coach raised an eyebrow at the load and the size of the boat. 3 grown men and a few sacks of decoys, it'll hold. A few sacks turned out to be 4 large burlap bags stuffed with plastic mallards, gadwalls, and pintails, all tangled and smelling of old lake rot. They loaded this boat anyway, because it was what men did the afternoon before duck season. It was ritual. It was pride. The rain hadn't stopped since noon. By dusk, it was cold enough to make your teeth chatter. They pushed off into Black Lake. At first, the boat held. The men paddled out enough to drop the outboard motor and crank it. Every sound echoed off the trees dead in the water like they were being followed. Caleb sat low in the middle, knees pressed to his chest, life jacket jammed under his backside instead of on his shoulders because it got in the way. The other side of the lake was the distance between them and the floating blind built in the summer. They were now at least 300 yards from shore in black water, nothing underneath but stumps and stories. Then came the sound, like a gunshot in a cathedral. Thunk. The boat lurched, a hollow crack beneath them. Water rushed over one side, like it had been waiting all along, and the boat flipped. 1 second they were riding, the next they were swimming. The world was upside down, cold, like knives, like falling into a glass of broken ice. Caleb came up coughing, flailing, the air in his lungs gone. His hands slapped for the boat, but it was gone. Then there, upside down, bobbing like a dying fish. "Dad!" he screamed. "I'm here," came the voice, somewhere to his right. The coach wasn't answering. Rain pelted the surface, blurring the shore into nothing but gray. Caleb grabbed the hull, shivering. Coach Taggart clung to the other side, his face pale, lips going blue, eyes open but glazed, as the gas can floated away. "Coach," Caleb shouted. "Talk to me." The man blinked. That was all. His dad was somewhere else, splashing, grunting, coughing, then silence. Then, over here. Caleb turned to see his father, clinging to a half-dead cypress trunk, ribs pressed against wet bark. He was trying to climb it, cursing, teeth chattering. Finally, Harlan pulled himself up enough to tie himself to the trunk with his belt, ripped off his scrub top, and began waving his white undershirt like a flag. "Someone'll see us," he muttered through clenched teeth. Caleb didn't believe it. Black Lake was just far enough from town that only the wealthy could afford to purchase there. And then it was only for a camp, even though some homes rivaled the best to be had in town. Most of the year, no one lived there. He knew it well because often he, like others, were secretly invited to the party with daughters of the rich and famous, unbeknownst to their parents. The wind cut harder now. Waves slapped their faces. The water was taking its toll. Minutes felt like hours, hours like days. "Let me swim," Caleb said. His voice trembled more from fury than fear. "No," Harlan barked. "You don't realize how far it is. I can make it. Trust me." "No." "Then I'll die tied to this stump." They locked eyes across 20 feet of open water, and something passed between them. Father to son, hard to hard, man to man. But Harlan's voice cracked this time. I'm not losing you too. What he meant hung unspoken. Caleb's mother, gone in the spring. A stroke, no warning, no mercy. Now this. So, Caleb didn't swim. He managed to get his belt around a jagged stump just above the water's surface. Lashed himself to it like some Civil War soldier refusing surrender. He shook so hard, his teeth were clattering. If I die, I'll be holding on to what? He whispered to himself. The sky darkened into night as waves continued to soak them. Then, a sound, far off. Music? On the distant shore, the McGrath estate was alive with voices and fiddle strings. The town attorney's daughter was getting married next week. The party was a rehearsal of sorts, with a white tent glowing like a lantern under the clouds. Caterers in black and white moved back and forth like chess pieces. One of them was old Moses. He was born here, would die here, and knew the lake like it was a cousin. He stepped out to smoke a cigarette and make water. Then something caught his eye. A shimmer. No, a flicker. A white rag. He squinted, narrowed his gaze, shook his head, and looked away. But the shimmer didn't stop. Inside the tent, Moses found McGrath himself. "Excuse me, sir," he said, voice raspy, old-school polite. "I think there's trouble on the lake." "What kind of trouble?" "I ain't sure, but I seen something out there waving." McGrath turned to his son. "Get the boat, now." On the lake, Caleb barely felt his legs. His jaw locked. His muscles twitched uncontrollably. The waves slapped him like they knew he was almost done. He clung to the tree with both arms now, his belt barely holding him in place. 20 feet away, his father was still straddled against the cypress trunk, waving his soaked white undershirt like a surrender flag. But there was no surrender in Harlan Bishop, not even a little. Then, there it was, a sound, low and distant, a motor. Caleb squinted through the rain. Was it a boat cutting through the fog? A halo of light skimmed the surface around it. The sound grew louder. Real. "Hey," Caleb croaked, barely audible. The words scraped out of his throat like rusted wire. The spotlight caught him. "We see you," someone shouted from the boat. 2 men stood in the bow, a younger one, no more than 30, in a tuxedo vest soaked and clinging to his skin, and an older man in a yellow slicker gripping the tiller with white knuckles. The boat turned toward Caleb. The younger man leaned out. "Take my hand." Caleb's vision narrowed. He raised his arm, then slipped. His belt popped and slipped off the rotten tree trunk. His body now sagged. Water surged up to his chin. He gasped, legs kicking weakly. "Grab me," the man shouted, but Caleb shook his head. "No, my dad," he rasped. "He's over there, on the tree. Go to him first." The man looked stunned. "Kid, you're not going to make another minute. Grab my damn hand, please," Caleb croaked. "He won't last much longer." The rescuer hesitated. Then, the old man in the slicker barked from the back. "We'll get him next. You go under. We lose both of you. Grab him now." The young man lunged forward, just as Caleb's grip broke entirely. Caleb's head went under, once, twice. Then, hands locked. The rescuer grunted, wrapping his arms around Caleb's soaked jacket, inching him up over the edge, and then with a wild yank, Caleb slammed into the bottom of the boat, coughing, retching lake water, trying to speak through the spasms. "Get him," Caleb gasped again, grabbing the man's wrist. "Get my dad." "We're going," the man said, voice tight with urgency. The boat spun. The light swept the water. The cypress tree appeared like a ghost, with Harlan clinging to it, his white shirt still fluttering in the wind. When they pulled alongside, Harlan couldn't speak. The trunk he had tied himself to finally gave way. He was in the water. His lips were blue. His fingers were bloodless where they still gripped the bark of the rotten trunk. The rescuer leaned out again. "Duck, let go," he said. Harlan looked at his son, lying in the bottom of the boat, eyes wide open, breathing. Only then did he let go. Back at the camp house, Moses stood on the edge of the dock and watched them leave. He lit another cigarette and said to no one in particular, "A white flag on Black Lake. Hell of a sight." Caleb passed out curled next to the coach's frozen body. They didn't even know if Taggart had made it until the ambulance reached the highway and someone shouted, "He's still breathing."
You have been listening to White Flag on Black Lake, written and adapted for audio narration by PASTNOWREAD, Stories That Need to Be Told, a story of heart, fear, and the will to survive. Follow for more. Please tag with someone who may like stories that need to be told. Thank you.